ready?
Yeah.
5, 4, 3.
Podcasting, the final frontier. These are the discussions of Cosmos with Cosmos. Its continuing mission to get drunk and seek out new topics and new drink recipes. To boldly podcast where no one has podcasted before. Do, 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 do.
Do, 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 do.
Welcome everyone to Cosmos with Cosmos. As always, I'm Liz.
I'm Mike.
I'm Brandon.
And we have a special guest this episode, Shannon from Geekshow Podcast. Welcome, Shannon.
Yeah. How's it going, Shannon from the Geekshow Podcast? Every Monday, we don't give a shit. People our panelists die, the apocalypse happens, and we have a new episode every week.
I love
we don't
it.
care.
I love it. Check it out. Everyone's a red shirt on the Geekshow Podcast.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So this episode, we are going to be talking Star Trek, all about Star Trek. We're nerding out. We're excited.
Oh yeah, I've been looking forward to this for weeks.
Yeah.
For weeks.
Oh yeah.
Especially once we got Shannon, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna shut my mouth.
Well, I love me some Star Trek.
Shouldn't everyone?
Who you should have had on was Lee George Cade from my podcast, because he's like a Star Trek and Star Wars encyclopedia.
Oh wow.
It's insane.
Nice.
Yeah. But
well,
I'll
time.
do my best. I'll do my best.
You're gonna do.
I
great.
love both. I like to say I'm bi. I like both Star Trek and Star Wars a lot.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, that was a little more rare in like the 90s, but today it's like acceptable to like both. We bridge that gap. We're more accepting of each other's cultures.
Tolerance. Nerd
Tolerance. That's what Star Trek taught us.
Yeah. All right, so let's get it rolling with our drinks. Mike, what are you drinking?
Kobayashi Maru.
Hey.
Yeah, it is cinnamon whiskey and apple juice.
Ooh, nice.
Spicy.
Brandon, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Trek's terrifyingly traditional Trouble with Tribbles Tonic.
Wow.
Jesus, try saying that drunk.
I will later. It's just 2 parts vodka, 1 part Amarillo, and some parts cranberry.
Ooh,
Oh, nice.
That's
Which,
good.
fun fact, cranberry, one of Warp's favorite drinks.
Oh, I did not
Prune
know
juice.
that.
It's prune juice?
It's prune juice.
Oh, maybe it was
Fucked up,
prune
Brandon.
juice.
It's
Fucked
prune
up.
juice.
Already, my Star Trek.
You already failed the
thread
show.
is gone. Yeah.
I am drinking the Q.
The Q. What's in the Q?
The Q is coffee and Kahlua,
Coffee and Kahlua.
basically. And
This is the first
You'd
time
be
like
wired.
I did not make a drink for you.
I know I made my own drink for once. Well, you're the bartender of the
I
household,
am the
so
bartender.
it goes. And Shannon has a great drink. Shannon is drinking See You in Stovokor.
Yeah, because today is a good day to die. It's 1 part gasoline and 2 parts targ blood. It's delicious. Oh, and a little wedge of lime.
Ooh,
Oh.
okay.
Keep it
It's what really kicks it over the top.
That's good. That was
That's a
good.
good one.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Jen does not like this voice. Do you, woman? The woman does not like this voice.
Oh, the rest of the podcast has to be in that voice.
Oh my gosh, I can see how that would get on the nerves eventually.
I'm
Woman!
just gonna...
Stop laughing, woman. We are making a podcast.
Oh my god! All right, so
Just
I'm
when she has like a
recording-
bat loaf in the background. that'd be
I'm
great.
gonna take all of these little clips, and when we actually do go back into the office at ENS, I'm just gonna hide behind the wall, and I'm just gonna play it. And Jen's gonna be so mad.
Woman, have you done your TPS report? Yes, woman. Have you checked your email? Check your email, woman.
That would be a great that would be a great sitcom to watch. Is Klingons in the 21st century
Or-
America?
Like, if you can go back to when the AOL always said, you have mail, and you can customize it to whatever thing you wanted, like, that is what I want.
Human! Check your email, you weak bitch!
Yeah, just like that.
Yes. Woo. All right. On that note, let's promote ourselves a little bit. Hey guys, follow us at Drinking Cosmos on Twitter and Cosmos with Cosmos on everything else. And follow at Geekshow Podcast and listen to them Mondays and on Patreon as well. They're on Patreon, right? You guys are on Patreon.
Yeah, we are. In fact, Geek Show has our Patreon, and one of my bits I'm going to start doing is Ask a Klingon.
Oh.
So we're going to do like a little mini podcast, me and Two Trill Tall Tony, our producer, and it's got, I am Puck, son of Torg. I came here for vacation, and now I am quarantined. They are not allowing travel off Terran. You weak bitches.
That's good.
I feel like two tall Trillix Tony would enjoy the traditional trouble with Tribbles Tonic.
Yeah,
There you
probably.
go. Oh my god. All right, everybody. We have our usual rules for the episode. If you hear any dogs barking, only barking. If they're playing around, don't worry about it. But if they're barking, take a drink. If we reference the blasphemous Star Wars during this episode, take a drink. And anything Lord of the Rings, take a drink. And special rule for the Star Trek episode, if anyone says, make it so, take a drink.
Make it so.
So, there we go.
Engage.
Starting off.
Delicious.
We're going to be so drunk by the time we hit the
It's
first
great.
break.
Well, that's that's how we roll.
Talk about Star Trek. Remember how maybe this had to happen to get to Star Trek. Because remember the world went to shit. It was like a nuclear war
Yeah.
before all this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully when we come out the other side of this, we don't go Mad Max and we start heading Star Trek.
Oh, that'd be good.
Oh, that would be really
get-
We get warp drive and the Vulcans notice us.
Right, exactly.
because they're just
We need
cruising
it.
through.
We need our Cochrane. What?
Mm.
Give me that sweet Cochrane. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Bathrom.
Let's hope we end up in Star Trek universe and not Mad Max.
Oh, I know, right?
I don't want to shave my head.
But, I mean, to be fair, Fury Road was incredible.
Well, that's true. But do you
So
want to
that'd
live
be kinda
there?
cool.
I shaved my head.
Yeah,
No.
that's true. You could shave my head.
Mediocre.
All right, let's check in with our Major Tom photon from our little thought experiment going on before we dive into Star Trek universe. Brandon.
Thank you, Liz. So if you recall our regular guest, back on March 22nd at 2:26 p.m. Central Standard Time, we sent out a photon from the sun, and every episode we like to check in with where this photon is at in the universe, just to explain how fast light goes and how incredibly big space is. That's what we call it, space. So
You're blowing
As
my
of-
mind.
yeah.
Whoa.
So as of right now, this exact moment actually, it has traveled 450.6 billion miles from the sun,
Ooh.
which is far.
Give or take.
Yeah.
It is pretty far. But
big
even in the
number.
grand scheme of things, it's not that far. So around the solar system, we have our Oort cloud. And 5,000
You have your
AU,
what?
it's called the Oort cloud.
Oh, I thought you said orc.
Oort cloud.
Oh my gosh, there's a
That'd
cloud
be
of
so
orcs
cool.
surrounding us. By the way, take a drink on
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit. What? What happened? Why are we taking a drink?
Oort.
Lord of the Rings.
Orcs.
reference.
Lord of the I was talking about Lord of the Rings orcs. But it's like think of us as being in a hamster ball of comets. So the Oort cloud is just these comets.
Yeah, it's
Surrounding us.
long-term comments. 450.6 billion miles is roughly about it's a little over 100 times the diameter. I mean, the radius of Pluto's orbit. So the distance from the Earth, from the Sun to Pluto.
So we're 100 times past Pluto.
That's
Yep.
so
Wow.
far in just a couple of weeks. So it's just entering the furthest estimate of the beginning of the Oort cloud. So it's just now like completely getting to the Oort cloud. Last week when we
Wow.
talked about it, it was entering the nearest estimate, but now it's entering the furthest estimate. So we're not entirely sure where the Oort cloud begins.
Wow.
I am
we know
out
it's
of my-
there.
I am out of my depth on this podcast.
It's okay.
don't worry.
We're getting to
We're
your
about
stuff.
We're gonna
to
get
jump
tipsy
into
real
it.
soon.
Yeah.
Huh? You,
All right. Well,
you
thank
guys
Brandon.
smart. You guys smart. You make things go.
I mean, I guess
Yeah.
Get that
Just-
reference?
I got it. It was the Packlet, right?
The
Yep.
Packlets.
We
You
are
make our
strong.
ship go.
We are
You
strong.
You make podcasts go.
all right. Well, let's you know,
Let's dive into some
let's
Star Trek.
let's just fuck the photon. Let's get into Star Trek. All right.
Oh, Tom.
Oh, that was cool. I like to. We don't usually do smart on Geek Show, so this is good.
We mix the smart with the just ridiculous.
With me and Liz. It's the fancy
Yeah.
physics man Mike, and then me and Liz don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I just make shit up.
No, you don't.
All right.
You use physics. All right. So Star Trek. Star Trek, obviously, I would say 98% of people should know what Star Trek is.
And fuck the other 2%.
Yeah, fuck them. So
Yeah, they're probably the people out like protesting quarantine.
I see
Yeah.
you,
Oh,
Jacksonville.
definitely, though.
Go watch
No.
Star Trek.
That 2% is everybody that showed up on the fucking beach in Florida yesterday.
yeah.
Yeah,
Fuck them.
we're gonna be in our houses forever. God damn.
All right. So
Yeah.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
How has Star Trek influenced each of us? Let's start it off with that. Get a little sentimental. Get a little
Yeah,
sentimental
Mike,
on us.
you go first.
Yeah, I'm looking at you, Mike. Looking at
I
you, kid.
didn't know it was. Well, so Star Trek was actually one of those things that I was introduced to by my dad. Star Trek was in rerun, and we would seem like every day at like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or something, it would come on, and we'd watch it. And I distinctly remember Trouble with Tribbles, that episode, because I was a wee little kid at the time, and so my dad introduced it to me. Of course, that was the original crew.
Oh, gee.
The OG. But Next Generation came along, and that was that brought me back into it. And that series just spoke to me, the intellectual level of it. Team Picard all the way. I got the bald head because of Team Picard.
Oh, is that why you're just trying to be like,
I'm just,
It's not genetics.
no.
it's just
Patrick.
Picard.
It's Patrick. So I think for me, Star Trek just it gives me hope. You look around. We got the plague going on, and we have a leader sitting in the White House who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, and he doesn't care. And so you can't. And then we got like nuclear missiles all over the place and wars all over the place. People are starving. There's sickness everywhere. And then you look at Star Trek, and yes, you have the conflict with the Romulans and the Borg and all that kind of stuff. But it just gives me hope that it's gonna be okay. That in the future, it's gonna be all right. It might not be in my lifetime, but we're
it's
gonna
not gonna
get
be.
there.
No one's current lifetime is that going to happen. If we ever get our shit together.
We're not going to get our shit together at all. I'll die the day before. I mean, like one day before we get our shit together.
One day before humanity's like, hey,
we
let's not
must
be assholes
we must
to each other.
sacrifice Mike.
So you're saying like, Mike, you're gonna die, and then the next day, Liz is gonna be like, "Fuck, Mike would have loved this."
Yeah,
We don't have money anymore. Everybody's like, nice.
pretty much.
We're all working together.
I would have missed it by one
Replicate
day.
our food.
Would have missed it by one fucking day.
just fucking teleport.
Oh God, no teleport.
Okay,
No.
we'll get into that.
No. We'll
get
talk
into
about that later.
We'll get into
We all
that.
have
All right, I'm
opinions.
gonna take it over to Shannon. Shannon, how's Star Trek influence you?
Well, it's been a part of my life, my whole life that I can really remember. That and Star Wars. My Uncle Barry took me to see Star Wars in the theater. I was 6 years old, and the seat kept folding up on me. But here in Utah, Star Trek was on every Saturday on what's now Fox 13. It was just Channel 13 then.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing. My dad, we would sit down, and it was like The Lone Ranger, Star Trek, and then AWA wrestling. So that was like every Saturday. Me and my dad and my brother.
That was my dad. Throw in the original 1950 Superman, and that's my
yeah.
dad.
No, so that was my Saturday. That what was his name? The one of the Reeves that was Superman that died
Christopher Reeves.
horribly. No, not Christopher. The original guy was George Reeves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it was like
50s.
George Reeves.
Yeah.
George Reeves, Superman, The Lone Ranger, Star Trek, and then AWA wrestling. And then there was this weird auction show that we'd watch. It had auction guys, like, so,
Hey, Shannon,
but yeah,
Shannon, we might be related, man.
maybe.
We might have the same dad.
Childhoods are exactly the same.
Was his name Rodney?
Sure.
Did he
He
call
goes by
himself?
Rick to us, but
Oh, it starts with an R.
starts with an
Did he nickname? Did your dad nickname himself Golden Rod?
No, I don't have that.
And it wasn't because of his name. He just was really proud of his dick. Anyway.
When you got it.
Anyway, so I just loved it. And there's like certain standout episodes that I love. The original Khan episode, and then when I was a kid and they picked that up in Wrath of Khan. As you can see, I've got my Khan hat on. That fucking blew me away. Just blew me the fuck away. And I remember I was a kid. Well, I was obviously because it was the past. But the Scholastic books, you could order before. We didn't have the internet, so nothing got spoiled. But I was looking through the Scholastic book orders, and there was an advertisement for. It was kind of like, almost like a comic book, but it was it was stills from the movie, and it said, "This is Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan," and I'm like, oh, the fuck, and I bought that shit, right? And I spoiled the whole movie for myself, but I still loved it when I saw it. And I still just cried like a little bitch when Spock sacrificed himself, right? And that's the thing that I loved about that show is and every single version of Star Trek, right? I love all Star Trek except for Voyager. Fuck Voyager. I hate Voyager. But the relationships and stuff in it, it seemed like so authentic, and they had like such good chemistry and stuff, especially Kirk and Spock.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and Spock and Bones, right?
Oh yeah.
Love Bones. It sounds like you're a Bones, Mike. You don't want to teleport.
Fuck that.
But and I also just loved it that it was hopeful, and they were doing things just because it was right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Imagine that.
Yeah, right. And it just gives you hope, Even the stuff on CBS All Access, man. Holy shit. Just, I mean, Discovery is some of the best sci-fi I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's really good.
And Picard's my captain. I was debating, so I'm wearing my shirt that says Klingons do it with honor. But I have my Team Picard shirt upstairs too. That I got in Atlanta with my ex-wife. I should have known she was going to be my ex-wife because she got a Team Kirk.
Ooh.
But I love Kirk. Yeah, it's just such a great show. Just like escapism and, and I just love the way they, and especially they did it with so well with Picard. The way they make it like a parable for like the current events of the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you think about like Deep Space Nine was kind of a parable of what was going on in the, the Eastern Bloc at that time, with like the Cardassians and the Bajorans. And goddamn Cisco. I love Cisco.
I love Cisco too.
Yeah, I like Cisco's cadence.
Most of the captains have the weirdest ways of talking, like the weirdest cadences. We all know Kirk. He talks like this. And then, Picard, he talked normal, right? He was pretty good.
It was like a stern British.
Upper class, yeah.
But it wasn't a weird like cadence. Mm-hmm. And then you have Cisco. I am Cisco. What are you doing? Wolf?
And it's like that in every scenario he's in. If he's in battle, same cadence. If he's just joined a baseball game, exact same. I don't know what's going on by listening.
He's, fucking somebody. He's like, you like that dick.
Oh, no. I will say Cisco, when he needed to, he could bring it down. He can bring that romance voice once in a while.
He can. Mm-hmm.
And then, don't even get me started on fucking Janeway.
We'll do that when we get to the captain section. We'll get you going.
She sounds like one of those aliens for Mars Attacks, kind of.
Oh, God.
Ooh.
This is always... So I do this whenever they bring up Janeway on Geek Show. I always start doing her voice.
Oh my God!
I see it. I can see it. Actually,
I'm not lying. That's how she sounded, right?
Well, she's in jail now, so Orange is the New Black.
Oh, that's right.
So she's in prison.
Wait a minute.
I read some bullshit rumor that they were gonna do like a Janeway thing like they did with Picard, and I'm like, nobody wants that.
You can only do it with one.
Yeah, no.
Or you
Captain.
can bring back Worf.
Yeah, you'd have to like have subtitles so you can understand what she was saying.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it so much. All right, Brandon. How has Star Trek influenced you, good sir?
In many, many, many ways. I guess the themes are going with like our first memories of Star Trek and like that. I'm not sure which came first. Remembering seeing Spock die in the Enterprise, that just lasted with me through all of childhood, through today. But I think what impacted me more was waking up early in the morning and, my door would be open and my mom's door would be open and I would hear the theme song to Next Generation come in. And that would wake me up every Saturday and Sunday. It's like on like UPN or something like that. I hear it come in.
No, it was like, what's it called? Franchised or?
Oh, syndicated. Yeah.
Syndicated.
So
yeah.
it wasn't just one like NBC. It can go out to whatever place wanted it, whatever channel wanted it. So I would wake up to that, come in and watch it, and have a good time. And I didn't really understand how much it was injected into my bloodstream, probably until mid-college, when I always watched Star Trek, always loved it, always loved Star Wars as well. But then I started realizing I can start actually studying and investigating these things that Star Trek is talking about. So I love Star Trek more than Star Wars because it gets into the diplomacy, the policies of space, the laws, and it's just so much more, as Mike was saying, cerebral than Star Wars, for example. And so lo and behold, I start working in the planetarium, in the science center, talking about space all day. I ended up going to grad school specifically for space policy. And in so many of my papers, I would reference Star Trek on my way in. And it was just phenomenal.
How many times did you reference the Prime Directive in a paper?
Honestly, I never did. I never referenced the Prime Directive. My love of planetary protection came a little bit, actually, exactly in grad school. So yeah, I should have.
Well, the prom directive is just a guideline.
That's true.
It's just a guideline. Whatever.
And that's, how certain private companies here on Earth feel about the Prime Directive and Planetary Protection too. But I'll put that aside.
Yeah, because you'll lose it. You'll lose it. All right.
But in any case, then I started working in the space program, actually working with rocket scientists, and turns out they love Star Trek too. A couple of them are major Trekkies, and it was just so cool to hear them talk about how Star Trek impacted them as it literally building the space shuttle. It was insane. So it's impacted my career in every way imaginable.
Wow, that's great.
What about you? That's
beautiful. Well, I grew up watching Star Trek with my mom. So my mom was a huge Trekkie. She watched, I believe she watched a little bit of the original series, but she really loved Next Generation. And so I would watch that with her. And so Next Gen is like my main fandom in Star Trek, where I started to grow out of that whole watching stuff with my mom, with DS.
When you were a teenager?
Yeah, when I started to turn into an asshole teenager, because I was a huge asshole teenager. So I watched a little bit of DS9 and just a little bit of Voyager, but it was Next Generation, and so she introduced that to me, and then it wasn't until later that like the significance of that came into play, like when I started working at the planetarium and just started to identify more as an adult with the themes in Star Trek and that world, and then becoming a bigger fan. So yeah, I'll keep it brief. So it was my mom. It was
my mama too.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
I had the unfortunate opportunity to meet Shatner.
Oh, really?
1974.
Like 6 years ago. 6 or 7 years ago. We actually kind of, like, he was doing that one-man show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Geek Show kind of opened up for it. We recorded a podcast in the lobby, before we did. They invited us to do it.
Yeah.
And then we got free VIP passes, right? So we got we're pretty much front row, and then we got to do the meet and greet after. And it was such a disappointment.
Oh. Is that never meet
your hero
never
situation?
Meet your hero.
Exactly. Now, the guy's old as shit, right?
Yeah.
And he just did like the 2-hour show, so he's tired. But I don't know where my picture is, but so it was just like basically you come up and go, "Oh my God, it's so good to meet you," and he's just like, "Yeah." Picture.
Come on, sit on my lap and tell me what we want for Christmas.
No, it wasn't even that. It was just like, "Yeah," and his face with all the guys, right, was just like, like he didn't give a fuck. But the minute a hot lady walked up to him, he's like, "Oh!"
Turning
he
it
never
on.
stopped being Captain Kirk.
No.
Totally.
He probably believes he's like really Kirk.
He's an interesting guy.
So clearly Star Trek has had a big influence on us and obviously larger culture. So Brandon, do you want to speak a little bit more to like its influence on culture?
Yeah, I'll just do a quick little deal on this because it goes so in depth. But one of the main aspects of how Star Trek has influenced our culture, and specifically NASA in space, is the very first space shuttle was supposed to be called the Constitution. But then people caught wind of this, and the fans of Star Trek banded together and wrote letters to NASA and Congress just constantly until they changed the name from Constitution to the Enterprise.
Yeah. Fuck the Constitution.
That's such a bland name. And the Enterprise has amazing history of ship names as well, but this was done specifically for Star Trek.
Yeah, and there's that great picture of the crew, the original crew, with it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And they're looking around with Gene Roddenberry up there. Now, while the Enterprise never actually went to space, it was too heavy and it was just done with a bunch of tests. There's only one first. So to have the very first space shuttle that was an incredibly successful machine be called Enterprise was a big deal. And so that's really cool. And it's on display up in D.C. now.
At the Smithsonian.
Nice.
Yeah, right by the Dulles Airport. So in the main Smithsonian, however, the one on the National Mall, you have the original Enterprise that was used for filming. It's like 200 pounds. It's 10 feet across. It's huge, and it's right across from all the historic aircraft. So the original Spirit of St. Louis, the one Lindbergh used to cross the ocean, it's literally right next to that.
So it's a legit historic aircraft.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that.
And so every time I go up into the Smithsonian, I look and there's Spaceship One, the first commercial spacecraft to go to space. Spirit of St. Louis, all this cool stuff, rockets and things, capsules. But then you got the Enterprise, guys. Let's go look at that.
God, that's cool. It's amazing how many people identified with Star Trek and enjoyed it. It's amazing how much of an influence it had.
It's inspiring.
It's that hope.
Yeah, you have hope for the future.
Well, look at the tech the tech we're using right now, right? Mm-hmm. It's like we could see each other while we're talking to each other, which is how they communicated on the bridge, right? Our phones are basically almost tricorders. You know what I mean? They can't measure our vital signs, but we got watches that can do that now.
Yeah,
true. You're wearing
actually, cell phones can do your heartbeat, your heart rate.
Yeah, and then iPads. iPads were from the next generation. Remember?
Oh,
yeah.
And you know that. And here's the other thing that I was going to say: the influence that's had on our modern times, our tech. When you get a new phone, right, and the first time you try to type "fuck," right, when you're texting, right,
Yeah.
it says "duck," right? Fucking is ducking. Right? But if you type in Spock, it comes up perfect. Right? Spock is always in the library, like Yoda, Klingon.
Excellent.
It knows that.
But not
but doesn't know fuck. It's like, oh, he's obviously talking about a duck. Oh, and a Klingon.
Ducking Klingons. This makes complete sense.
It learns fuck.
It does learn.
It
fuck.
learns fuck.
We
My
teach it
phone
fuck.
knows fuck really well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my phone can fuck.
Oh my god, that's very true, and I think that part of that is that people invent this shit in their head of what they want the future to look like or what they want technology, what would be cool, like replicators, and then you have real scientists who know the science go, well, let's try to make this. How do we make a visual
and
communication
that's
device?
like the history of science fiction in general. If you look at GPS, for example, that phrase GPS, the meaning was a little bit different, but how it operated in a geosynchronous orbit, telling you exactly where you're on Earth, was thought up by, I think it was Arthur C. Clarke, decades before GPS actually went up. So science fiction is often like the gateway to actually creating the technology.
Gateway drug.
Yeah, sci-fi's a gateway drug.
I don't know how I feel about replicators.
Replicators.
I think 2 weeks ago at Geekshow, we had this big long conversation about replicators, and Lee mentioned that they get most of their proteins and amino acids and stuff because of course he's read the whole technical manual, right?
As one does.
They pull it out of the shit from the waste of the crew.
Which is right. So, for example,
I didn't know that.
If we look at the International Space Station, they reuse not all the dry fecal matter, but like the pee, for example. That's going to be reused, guys, except the Russians don't do that. The Russians refuse to reuse the pee. But the American side...
They just drink vodka up there the whole time. That's all they do.
But the American side makes sure to save the pee, and it goes to cool systems and things like that, and possibly goes back to drinking water. So that makes complete sense, actually. So, of course, when you go poop and the replicators get it, it's going to come back as Earl Grey hot, because that's just how it works.
So, I guess, that ruins it for me, because that just means that Picard's drinking a hot cup of piss.
Yeah, but that's what differentiates
Piss and
it from science fiction. That's what differentiates science fiction and magic, is that there's a reason and a how for the replicator to work. If it just magically appeared.
Magic goes down way smoother.
Just don't think about it. I'd rather have a replicator than a fucking teleporter. Now, when we drive to California, I really want a teleporter. really want to fucking teleport it.
Yeah.
Boom, boom. We're at your
Do we want to
parents'
open up this can of worms? Teleport the can of worms?
Oh God. I mean, fuck it. Sure.
Let's
We're
do
All
it.
right, guys. So
It's like
here's my
teleportation.
opinion with O'Brien and teleportation. O'Brien, Scotty, they're both mass murderers to the highest degree imaginable. So when you teleport yourself, of course, your atoms all go with you and they reconstitute themselves and where you want to go. Same thing with the neurons and the brain activity. But in doing so, you essentially kill your conscious. You kill yourself and you're reanimated somewhere else with the exact same memories and things. So to this new being, it feels like you're one constant being. But in reality, you die. And this is somebody else coming into existence.
It's like that Riker episode where the bean gets split.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get two Rikers.
Oh yeah, that's right. God, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I was reading an article where apparently you have to be like heated up to like billions of degrees to split the atoms.
Wait a minute. What? Oh.
Well,
Yeah,
For
because you're just
teleportation.
saving. You're not really taking the actual atoms. Let me rephrase that. You're taking the information of the atoms and putting the information somewhere else. So it's not even the same atoms. It's just the information
This
being
just-
reconstituted somewhere
This
else.
just seems
Well,
like a
yeah.
real bad idea.
You know, there's just too many quantum states to keep track of. You know.
well, so here's the one thing with Picard that kind of frustrated me. So he's got this brain disease, right?
Uh-huh.
Right? Yeah.
How come they couldn't filter that out while he was teleporting?
Yes. Yes.
Well, it just reminds me of like in Spaceballs, the teleportation where Mel Brooks has his
Oh,
head
yeah.
reconstituted on backwards,
I'm
so he's looking
backwards.
at so he's looking at his ass. You know, it's like that shit's gotta have happened. You know, like there's got to be like an leg coming out, like an arm.
Yeah. Who was
In
the
the early
first
days.
person?
It's gonna be pigs and monkeys first.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
but-
but
yeah.
eventually.
They're gonna be blowing up pigs and monkeys.
But eventually, you got to move the people, and then there's a whole bunch of people on a beach in Florida. You can just grab them.
Just grab
test
those
those.
motherfuckers.
So I would never teleport because I don't want to die and have another being have my consciousness. Shannon, would you teleport and potentially risk that?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
He would
Well, I
teleport,
got-
but he
well,
draws
I
the
got
line
to
on
lose.
eating shit.
Yeah.
I'm iffy on eating like ham made out of shit. But I'll teleport.
I'll teleport all day long.
I'll teleport after like the successful like 5 billionth teleportation. That's when I'll be like,
No,
all right.
even if successful, I still don't trust it's my actual consciousness. I don't want to die in that way.
You successfully
but-
teleport the entire beach of Florida. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Now maybe they do it like, you know how, oh, here we go. This shows what a nerd I am. How Nightcrawler teleports from the X-Men.
Oh, how does he teleport?
He basically opens up, his power is he teleports by opening up an entryway to a pocket dimension that's physics are different, and he just moves through space and time to another way out.
You know, I was going to bring up that would take up so much an insane amount of power to make that happen, to open up portals to multiple dimensions. But then also it would take an insane amount of power to remember all those quantum fluctuations and make sure they don't explode in that way. So it's probably about the same amount of power. So yeah, if it's like that, I am in completely.
Like almost like a wormhole.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like a little wormhole. I know some things.
What if you could have like a pocket wormhole or a pocket white hole? Is it? Which
Wormhole.
one? Wormhole?
Wormhole.
You know,
yeah.
like your own little individual wormhole that you can just, activate and travel.
That would be cool. I'd be
Travel
in
to.
for that.
You're okay with the personal wormhole.
Yeah, because it's me going
Well,
through it.
yeah. Yeah, because you,
Is it,
you keep yourself going through it.
I've got a pocket wormhole.
Is it?
The other hand is doing a not peace sign.
Is this Klingon hitting on me with a pocket wormhole? I don't know what that means.
Is that a wormhole in your pocket, or you just have to see?
It's a pocket wormhole.
Okay.
We're going places, babe.
Oh my god! All right.
Anyway,
I want to get past teleportation, and I want to actually talk about, because I'm just gonna decide, aliens.
So and like
Star Trek aliens.
Yeah, so there was somebody that was associated with Star Wars. They were saying that like Star Trek does the absolute best aliens, hands down.
Really?
Yeah.
They're not all. Go ahead.
They were saying that basically, hey, the Star Wars aliens suck, but the Star Trek aliens, you know, just the detail and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, like those one aliens that were half white and half black.
Oh yeah.
They nailed it on that one.
Hey, but black's on one side on one, but it's on the other side on the other.
Right? Nailed it.
One of my favorite Star Trek aliens was in season 3 of the original series. I just watched this last night, so how I know exactly which one. They come across this alien planet, and when they zoom in, they see a culture that is exactly the same as Native American cultures. And so Kirk and Spock, they all zip down there, and they don't say hi yet. But then one of the main characters, the main female, is just this white girl in brown face, and I go, "Oh my god!"
Oh, yeah.
Is that the one? Is that the one where Kirk turns into Kirok?
Yeah, and he like impregnates this woman and marries her. And he can't remember his name. He's like injured with his head, and he can't remember his name. So they ask him,
Kirok.
"What is your name?" And he goes, "I am Kirok."
Kirok. And he dresses up like an Indian.
Oh my god, it's so.
I had a framed picture of Shatner as Kirok on my apartment. Me and my buddy's Charlie's apartment forever. And we had a light that shined right on it.
Oh my god.
And like when something good would happen, we'd go praise Kirok.
Praise Kirok, because he was a god to them.
I mean, as progressive as it was in the 70s or 60s, you know, there's still a little PC culture left to be.
What's it called? There's some stuff that's problematic.
Just a little bit.
Well, they fixed that with the Next Generation, where Wesley Crusher in his final episode? He was he goes.
I'm still listening. I'm just going to make a drink.
Oh. Where he goes down to that Native American group that had and there were so many like social commentaries on this episode where somebody, it's probably the fucking Cardassians or something, who wanted this planet, and they were going to have to move the Native American group, you know, Trail of Tears
relocation,
to another planet. And I think it was like integral to the Wesley Crusher story arc. But yeah, those were actually played by actual Native Americans.
Well, that's
good.
That's good for once.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the only problem is with any whether it's Star Trek or the other one who shall not be named, the aliens all tend to look humanoid because obviously the actors playing them are humanoid.
Right, but Star Trek actually addresses that.
Yes, I know they address it as coming from the same
and it's so cool the way to do
smart.
It was a great fucking episode.
I think it was like 2 or 3 episodes.
I think it was 2.
Was it 2?
It might have been 2. Yeah, it might have been
I think it was 2 because it was a big race. They all had to find this new technology.
Yeah.
No, the Gambit was they wanted some Romulan. No, Vulcan technology. That was the Gambit, part 1 and part 2. But yeah, so it was a great episode or two, where they actually address why we all look the same. Roughly.
Now, in reality, what do you think the percentage is that there would be aliens that would be humanoid-esque?
0. There's a bunch of a bunch of zeros, and I will give you like a 1. But it's way the fuck down there.
One of my favorite science fiction books is called The Gods Themselves by Isaac Asimov. And it goes between our reality with a bunch of humans on Earth and on the moon as well, because it's the future, sure. And then he switches to another reality with aliens, and they're not even physical. They're just this cloud form that go through energy phases as they become older. And it's just so cool to imagine a completely different life form, not even DNA based or physical based.
Wasn't that an episode on Next Generation where there was like a cloud-based life form that they...
Are you thinking of the Futurama episode when the big
No.
cloud takes takes
Now-
the original cast?
Not all Star Trek monsters or aliens were humanoid, because there's that the episode "The Devil in the Dark" in the original episode, original series. There's that thing that looks like if somebody ate a bunch of rocks and then shit them out.
Oh, God.
Is that the one with
And,
Abraham
and
Lincoln?
that's the one where Spock gets down and mind melds with it, and he's like,
God.
"No, kill I,
Well, let's see. You had the
no,
Tin Man.
kill I." Yeah.
You had the
I
Tin
gotta Google the
Man
rock guy.
from Next Generation. You also have that fucking oil slick.
Oh, that killed Tasha?
Yeah, I hate that oil slick.
Yeah.
But whatever. It's one of my least favorite episodes. But
Oh God, it's terrible.
Oh, well, and in Discovery, there's that that alien where the whole premise of season 1 is that it's like not a physical alien, but it was that I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Then you have those like Next Generation where like they want to latch onto the ship and suck the energy, the 21 centimeter energy from the
yeah.
Enterprise, and Geordi pulls up the main engineer for the Enterprise and falls in love with a hologram.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
episode.
right.
You know that happens.
And then
guys.
she actually fucking comes on the Enterprise and is like, "What the fuck is this?"
Ew.
Hashtag me too.
I was gonna say something profound and it went away.
It's okay. We'll let you think about it.
But as we're talking about aliens and the Prefala, what's the one we're looking for?
Plethora.
Prefala.
Plethora. There we go. The
Plethora?
plethora. Yes. There
That
are
is-
words I don't always know.
That is
Fucking alcohol.
English with Brandon.
Thank you. We'll have more after I make my second drink here momentarily. So the plethora of alien species in the Star Trek universe. There is actually an equation here on planet Earth that we've discovered, that we made rather, that says how many alien species should be out there just in our galaxy.
Mhm.
Want to take it, Liz?
It's the Drake's equation.
Hell yeah, Drake equation.
Yeah.
Do you want me to
okay.
do you want me to go through the variables of the Drake equation?
Well,
Is that
no,
what
we
you
don't
want?
need to do that. But
it's so
as I
cool, though.
slam the microphone, we don't need to do that. But the Drake equation basically is an attempt to kind of figure out how many civilized
It's statistics.
societies would be out there based on different parameters, like how long your sun has been, your star has been around, and all of that kind of stuff. And so there's a lot of parameters to this. And so the Drake equation tries to figure out how many advanced civilizations, which is what it's trying to figure out how many civilizations are like us.
Yeah.
That are
Advanced
out there.
civilizations, not just life or campfires,
ones
but
that
advanced.
are and advanced meaning that they are emitting radio waves.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, basically, so they can communicate. And let's be honest. First of all, we are not advanced. Humanity is not advanced.
No, we're babies.
I am.
Well,
Yes,
compared
the
to
four
what
of
we know.
us talking are advanced. The rest
Speak
of
for yourself, Michael.
Prefera?
Civilization.
Prefera?
and the people that are watching our Twitch right now. But anyway, so I think it's hubris to call ourselves advanced for one thing. But I really hope that if we are
We're protesting trying to stay alive.
Yep, that's
We're
how
not
advanced we are.
very fucking advanced at all.
yeah, if we are the quote unquote advanced, I hope we're the only fucking one. There's only one of us
know.
in the entire galaxy, in the entire fucking universe. If we are quote unquote advanced.
Give me liberty or real death from a virus.
What the fuck is wrong with people in this? Okay, different podcast.
Okay.
Different
Now,
podcast.
my favorite meme I saw I don't know if you guys are my friends on Facebook, but I'm a meme lord. I'm insane with
I
it.
love it.
We love it. Keep it going.
The one that's got, the "Don't Tread on Me" flag.
Yeah.
And it's got the snake, and it's on a ventilator.
Oh, God.
And it's on a ventilator, and it says, making patriotic choking sounds.
Good. Well, that's where we are in the human evolution, and our civilization as a species is protesting being alive.
All right, put that up to the camera. For all of our Twitch people, this is what Shannon's talking about.
That's really good.
Patriotic choking noises. The line must be drawn. Yeah!
And no further.
Oh my God. Yeah, and that brings me to the quote that I've said so many times on this podcast, that from the Exoplanets Planetarium show, said that was narrated by Odo, Renee. I'm not going to attempt saying it.
Just say Odo. Renee.
Odo.
Yeah, rest in peace. But we're in the horse and buggy days of space exploration. I made us go out of focus in our webcam.
I was going to say,
Also,
is it the drink, or are you guys blurry as fuck?
No,
and
it's...
Also, speaking of the horse and buggy days, that's also a Sagan quote.
Is it really? Okay,
Yeah.
Look, I'm trying to get... don't mind me. I'm just trying to get us back in focus.
Okay, I never do mind you.
I know.
So, yes, the horse and buggy days. I think we're advanced, but apparently we're not too advanced.
Yeah,
no, really, I mean, look at me right now.
Did we go back to the results of the Drake equation?
Wait, hold on. I don't think we're advanced at all. We basic.
We're basic.
N
We're
equals
basic.
based on Earth ego, N equals 0.
N equals
Well, I
0.
mean, based off the sample size, man. Like, the slug is intelligent. The slug is advanced compared to what we know out there.
Or ants. Ants, they
Ants
know how to work together. They can make their cities. They make air conditioning for themselves, and they all have a role and a part, and they work together.
And the octopus is amazingly advanced as well.
And
And as humans,
even though they rape people.
Yeah, us humans, we pick up a can of energy drink like Red Bull, and it says, "Do not mix this with alcohol." And we go,
"Whoa!
Oh, fuck it! I'm going to mix this with 7 ounces of Everclear."
Yeah,
hell yeah!
I wonder if this will be good with alcohol. Let's try it.
Oh God, Everclear. Well, all those fucking aliens got to live somewhere. What about the planets they live on? Star Trek's got some really cool ass fucking planets.
They do.
Yeah.
They got a lot of habitable planets.
They do. Was it M-class
Kronos.
planets?
I love Kronos.
Kronos is good.
Yes.
Yeah, because of your shirt. Because of the Klingons.
You guys, I love the Klingons so much.
I could not tell.
I love them so much. Like, I love, and I think it started with Worf, actually. Now, fuck Alexander. That little piece of shit.
He's a little bitch.
It's not his fault. He was raised without a father, without a family. He's just kind of listening around until Worf said, "Who are you?"
No, he was raised by a Klingon woman. Klingon women are tough as shit.
But Worf would have done a
They
good
are
ass
tough
job
as shit.
too.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
You're Klingon. You're part Klingon.
He was just like, he was a little bitch.
Little ridges.
Well, you had the Worf effect. Is that called the Worf effect?
Let's make it called the Worf effect.
So there's a TV trope out there. Go to tvtropes.com. Good luck getting back out. But in Star Trek, it is called the Worf effect. Worf is brought on as this really strong warrior where he's supposed to be the top of the food chain. But seemingly in every episode where there's a tough guy, he gets his ass kicked. So he's brought up as this really strong dude.
Okay. He was never trained properly in the ways of a warrior.
That doesn't make
because
it okay.
he was raised by those 2 Russians. But he was raised by those 2 Russians, but he still wasn't a little bitch like Alexander.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Okay?
Alexander
don't have an excuse. I'm sorry.
But Worf was scary as shit in the episode when they all de-evolved into their primordial forms.
Oh,
that was terrifying.
Oh, I love that episode. I love that episode.
All like my favorite episodes are either Borg or Klingon multi-episode arcs.
Yeah.
Right? Love them so much. I was so happy when Worf came on to Deep Space Nine. I squealed like a little kid. Because once again, we didn't really have the internet then, and we had no idea that Worf was going to be on DS9, right?
It fucking shows up.
Yeah. My favorite original series movie is The Undiscovered Country.
Yes! Yes!
I love it so much.
We have the same dad. We have the fuck yeah.
Richard,
You're causing turbulence.
Undiscovered Country. Yeah.
Yeah, the one remember. But what I didn't like is we found out that Klingon blood is pink. It looks like It looks like Pepto-Bismol a little bit.
It was Pepto-Bismol. It's like kind of floating around, and then it went flat when the gravity turned back on. But yes, Undiscovered Country. Yes,
because who was that one general that what's his face from The Sound of Music played?
Oh yeah, Christopher
Plummer.
Yes,
Christopher Plummer.
Yes,
and he was that Klingon, the bald Klingon with the eye patch bolted to his eye.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, hey, I can have a fake eye, but fuck that. Fuck this. I will not have a fake eye. Bolt metal to my eye. I lost it in battle. Right?
And love Shakespeare.
And he loved Shakespeare. And my favorite line in that whole movie is, it sounds better in the original Klingon. I tried to learn Klingon.
Did you really?
I had a book, Klingon to English.
Oh my god.
I had an audio tape called Conversational Klingon.
Yes.
Michael Dorn read it.
Yes.
And I would just drive around and speak Klingon. But the only thing I can remember is how to count to 3.
Do it.
Wah! Cha! Wait!
Nice.
And also, I can remember their greeting too.
Okay.
They never said, they have nothing close to hello. This is as close as you get. Look, Nika!
Basically, it's German.
Right. And basically, the closest translation you get to that in English is, what do you want?
Yes.
Of course. Klingons are also maybe like New Yorkers. Just like, what the fuck you want?
Like, can you imagine, like, waking up in the morning and you go down and your partner's in the kitchen and you turn around, you look at them and you go, look, Nika!
I'm gonna start doing that too.
Oh,
but
that'd be
I'm gonna do
awesome.
it in English, and I'm just gonna be like, "What do you want?" On that note, yes, we need some refills on our drink. So I think we should take a little bit of break.
Can you take us to break?
Can I what?
Take us to break?
We bitches of Earth! We go to break so that you can go smell your flowers.
Yes.
Welcome back!
We're back. Cosmos with Cosmos.
Terran bitches!
We're going to have to put a disclaimer in front of this podcast saying, hey guys, I know we curse usually, but this time you're going to have it going down into your very ear hole and into your soul.
Klingon style, motherfuckers.
All right, so we've talked a lot about Klingons and
Yes!
Star Trek. Before we get into our Star Trek Smackdown on who's the best captain, best series, etc., and gush over Picard, we're going to talk a little bit about a legend and a legacy of Star Trek, and that is the one left by Nichelle Nichols, Brandon.
And legacy was such a great word to use for that.
Yeah.
This is also because I'm on my second strong drink, and they just really want to talk about Nichelle Nichols because she's one of my absolute heroes. Well,
Hey, go ahead.
I had one of my Han shot first shots before we began, so
Okay, all right.
it works out.
Oh,
That's
we
what
have
I-
to drink to that? Han shot
Oh.
it's a reference.
let's
You
drink
drink.
to it.
Fucking drink.
Wars. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Mm.
I wish we had phases, though, to shoot Jameson into our mouths from a distance.
Oh,
Sounds-
Ew. Drink drunk.
That's my new goal in life. Anyway,
Okay.
so yes, I want to talk about Nichelle Nichols for quite a few reasons. Of course, she is in the original series Lieutenant Uhura, the comms and translator person. She was third or fourth in command of the Enterprise.
Sure.
Which I guess in 1967, 1966 was still a major leap African American women at the time. It was incredible to be third in command.
Super smart and just goddamn gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Yeah, absolutely. She had a career in Broadway before. She was a singer. In fact, the Star Trek theme song, you go, that was her.
Oh.
What?
Oh,
I didn't know
that.
I did not know that.
That was
Wow.
when she was talking with Roddenberry. That was one of the deals because they all knew she had a background in classical singing and Broadway. So she asked if she can do the theme. So I think the first season may not be her, but the other seasons are. I would
Wow,
double check that.
okay.
But yeah, she sang the opening theme. And she was also an incredible cultural icon for, number one, social acceptance and culture, and also with NASA. Let's kind of break those up into two sections here. So the first part with socially, she was, of course, the African-American woman on the bridge, something in the 60s never really before seen on television, this amazing platform that could be put out to millions of people. But as the story goes, after the first season, she wasn't feeling fulfilled. She loved Broadways and plays so much being in front of the audience that she wanted to quit. And she talked to Roddenberry and made it very much known that she wanted to step away. And so one day they're I forget exactly where she's at, but she's called into a separate room. And so she walks in there and doing her, her thing. And who's in the other room but literally Martin Luther King Jr., like the icon of civil rights. So she walks in to see him sitting there. And, they meet each other and he talks about how Star Trek is the only show that the family will stay up for is just to see her and her representation of themselves on television.
Well, and so she's like the original representation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and think about it. And her and Takai.
Takei, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, I don't know.
God, I said it.
Either one.
No,
I said it.
It's
No,
okay to be
No,
okay.
it is Takei, because Carrie, my buddy, interviewed him one time and said his name wrong, and he got fucking shut down. Anyway, go ahead.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Carrie.
I cannot tell you how much representation matters.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, hashtag representation matters.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, we can watch Star Trek, but when you see an African-American character in it, that is in a position of command, of importance.
In the middle of the
Civil rights movement.
Of the
Civil rights
fucking
movement.
60s. Yes,
This
but
is-
even today, like LGBTQ characters
Mm-hmm.
that you see in these episodes, representation matters. It pulls me in. It makes me feel like, hey, I have a stake in this show.
Mm-hmm.
And for Star Trek, it's like, hey, the future is going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Going back
Exactly.
to original statements, but
anyway.
Yeah.
Back to Nicole.
Yeah, so Nichelle, she knew at some level that her representation mattered and what it kind of meant, but she wanted to quit and go out to Broadway. So she told literally Martin Luther King Jr. that, I appreciate you watching the show, but I do want you to know I'm going to be leaving the series to pursue my interest. And he looks at her and goes, Nichelle, you can't do that. TV is such a powerful medium, such a powerful platform, and you are seen. You are the African-American representative on television.
Yeah,
you can't leave us.
He's like, you're our avatar.
Yeah, you are our avatar. And that's exactly right. And you can imagine seeing this icon that is MLK saying you can't leave. And so, of course, she comes back on the show for the second and third season and all the movies as well and stays that icon that she remains.
It was the first televised
interracial kiss.
Interracial kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though Kirk was under some kind of brain controlling alien at the time, still.
Oh, who
So,
cares?
I mean,
Yeah. No, fantastic moment. Love that story. And Nichelle Nichols went on to become this great ambassador for NASA and minorities as well. So back in the 70s, when you look at Apollo astronauts, Mercury, Gemini, they're all white. Buzz and Neil, as great as they are, they all white.
Yeah.
They white as fuck.
Yeah.
They white as
The
fuck.
whitest.
Although there was supposed to be one African-American Apollo astronaut who was unfortunately killed in the training exercise. That's a great story. Go look into that. He was supposed to be an incredible individual. But Nichelle, when she was asked by NASA to come help promote astronauts, she said, and this is, I wrote down this quote. So NASA came up to her and asked, can you help us recruit people? And she said, quote, "I will do this, and I will bring you the most qualified people on the planet, as qualified as anyone you've ever seen, and I will bring them in droves. And if you do not pick a person of color, if you do not pick a woman, if it's the same old, all-white male astronaut corpse, then that you've been done for the last 5 years, and I'm just another dupe, I will be your worst nightmare."
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
She says this.
Yeah.
She fucking says this to
Well,
NASA.
she's a
to NASA
badass.
headquarters. It was amazing.
And also, she is, like, how I said I met Shatner, and he was a piece of shit. Every account that I've heard of somebody that's better at a Comic-Con or whatever, they're just like, she is a gracious and wonderful human being.
Uh-huh. And I've been fortunate enough to talk to higher ups in NASA and talk to astronauts as well. And the people that know Nichelle, they just have nothing but amazing things to say about her. And so, of course, what happens next after she says, "I will be your worst nightmare," which is a cool fucking thing to say.
Fuck yeah.
Badass.
Yeah, so the question is, what happens?
Did she say it like this, though? I will be your worst nightmare.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly how it went.
She was Klingon the whole time.
Yeah.
But honestly, after that statement, I wouldn't be surprised if it had the exact same effect.
Right?
And so, lo and behold, the very next astronaut class, they picked 5 women, 3 African-American men, and the first Asian. So, and since then, if you look at every astronaut class since then, they've all been representative of America and not just white people. My favorite astronaut, Sunny Williams, love her to death. So, thanks to, it may have happened, but Nichelle Nichols was one of the driving forces that made NASA representative of us all. So I love Nichelle for that.
And hey, Brandon, who is the actual astronaut who showed up on a Next Generation episode?
Next Generation, the first African-American woman in space, Mae Jemison.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
So
Episode
actual
6.
Astronaut.
And every morning, she went to the space station. Every morning when she would wake up, her first message to Mission Control in Houston would be, "Hailing frequencies are open."
Nice.
Just like Lieutenant O'Hare would say.
So, thank you, Michelle.
Brandon, who was the first Polynesian professional wrestler to show up on Star Trek?
Well, you see, the first Polynesian professional wrestler would have been in the original. I have no idea.
It was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Oh, shit, that's right. Oh, damn it.
What episode is he in?
That's Next Generation.
No, I think it was Voyager.
Was it Voyager?
It was one of the ones that was on Upin.
Oh, it was
Oh, yeah,
Voyager.
yeah.
It was Voyager.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
He was
right.
playing The Rock. He played The Rock with some shit on his forehead.
Ha. So
Oh
he's like
my
the Scorpion
God.
King. Yeah, all right.
So basically, what we're saying is Star Trek has influenced us, like personally,
Mm-hmm.
on like a very individual level,
Mhm.
but also a societal level.
Mm-hmm.
And so
It breaks boundaries.
What?
It breaks boundaries.
It definitely does
Uniting
break
force.
boundaries.
And really, Star Trek conventions were the first conventions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
After it was canceled. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, So San Diego Comic-Con, which got canceled, but anyway, fuck them. Could have happened to worse people. It's canceled this year, but so that was around for 50 years, San Diego Comic-Con. But Star Trek cons have been around forever.
Yeah.
Yep. I met
And
Majel Barrett, Gene Roddenberry's wife, at a Star Trek Comic-Con.
right,
Yes.
and you also know that not only is she played what's her
mom.
face's mom,
But she was
Deanna's
the
mom.
Computer voice.
the computer voice on Next Generation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I met her. They had a Star Trek Comic-Con, a Star Trek convention, a Star Trek convention. I'm
can't
usually
take you
not the one to hit
anywhere.
this thing,
Can't take you
but
Damn it, Mike.
I know, right?
Don't hit
So
the
they
mic,
had
Mike.
a Star Trek convention it was either in Columbia, South Carolina, or Charlotte, North Carolina, and I went up there and actually met her, and she was. So if you had Shatner on one side, she's on the exact opposite side of the universe from him. Incredibly nice.
She's hanging out with Nichelle Nichols.
Just hanging out, talk to you. It's not like, hey, we'll come up, take a picture, and then you move on your way. She just an amazing person, and God rest her soul. Except I don't believe in God, but rest in peace.
I was like, wow, that was very.
I think
Do you want a dish about like some Star Trek people you've met? I've met several.
I've met one.
Who have you met?
Well, we met Brett Spiner at FanX 2 years ago.
That's right.
We took a picture with
Right.
Brett Spiner. Yeah, when you
Remember
introed him
I-
on the panel. Yeah,
I interviewed him.
moderated.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Oh my gosh, Brett Spiner is so witty and sarcastic.
Oh, I should
and
go get
fun.
that picture right now.
He's
I'm
great.
gonna go get that picture.
Go get the picture. Take it off the wall.
So
I will be back.
so I actually I did his spotlight
Yeah.
interview
Yeah.
At
oh, that's cool.
FanX.
Yeah.
And remember, he was just kind of being a dick to me.
He was really messing with you. He was really.
Yeah, he was fucking messing with me, and I think he was used to people not knowing how to deal with that. And you remember, like, probably a third. Oh, there he goes. There he is.
Nice. Hey, Brett. Hey, Data.
About a third of the way into that interview in front of like 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Right.
It was packed.
And I just look at the crowd and I go, you guys, Brett Spiner hates me.
I remember
And
that.
it,
Yes.
and it shook him. It shook him. He
He was
goes,
like, "Oh."
and he goes, Shannon, there's a fine line between love and hate. And I go, I know, I was married once. And after that, it was fine. I'm just like, quit fucking, bro. I fucking love you, but don't fucking talk to me like, do not talk to me like I am a weak earth tearing bitch, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the rest of it was fun, but he totally fucking lied to me. Because this was like I think he was taking a break from filming Picard at this point.
Oh, that's right.
Remember? Because I was like,
That's right.
are you going to be on Picard? And he's like, well, if they ask me, I'll do it. I'm like, you. And then I saw the early trailer, and there he is. I'm like, you lying, tearing bitch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but he
yeah,
can't.
he-
He can't say that he is.
Yeah.
But still.
Like years ago, before we did Geek Show, when we still had like these little cons here, I was lucky enough. Like, so we would do Geek Show on X96 on Radio from Hell.
Oh, okay.
We went in and I stood in a room with David Prowse, who was the body of Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And he was also in A Clockwork Orange. Felix Silva, a small man, a little person. He was one of the Howard the Ducks. He was Tweaky from Buck Rogers, the TV series in the 80s.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I went and fucking watched that.
And also he played the alien in my most favorite episode of The Dukes of Hazzard. But the other two guests were Garrett Wang and the lady that played the Dabo dealer from Next Generation.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, like the car dealer girl that my friend Carrie had a giant crush on. And Garrett Wang was on Voyager. He was like the Asian whatever officer.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know who you're talking about, yeah.
And he didn't give a fuck. We were on the radio straight up, and he was talking about what a bitch Janeway is. What an act like, oh, fuck her. I hated going to work.
Oh, wow.
That Kate Mulgrew.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, God, she's a horrible human being.
Well,
fuck how I
she's in jail.
hate her.
She's in fucking jail right now.
And then I did my impression for him. And he just he laughed so hard he cried.
Brandon, have you met anyone?
So it wasn't me that met this person, but my sister literally had dinner with George Takei.
Oh!
Like, they
Your
sat next to each
sister
other,
went.
they chatted, they had selfies, they had a good time, and it was incredible. And she sent me this like live as it was happening a couple years ago. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Was his husband there?
No, he wasn't there. It was just George.
That's
I
amazing.
know.
Oh, man. On that note, Brandon.
Speaking of punching
all right.
SmackDown.
Star Trek SmackDown. I don't know why we're doing this.
Well, I don't know, but it made me do it.
I think we might be all on the same page as far as our favorite captains.
Yeah.
The only
Let me-
outliner that I'm not sure of
Brandon
is
needs to
Brandon,
pick a
'cause
fucking
he may have
different one.
changed.
I will try to play the devil's advocate here.
You bet fucking better.
All right, first of all, Shannon, favorite captain and why? Go.
It's Picard. I just I like his gentle soul, but his like strong demeanor.
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
His immense caring and especially shown on the new series, his infallibility.
Yeah.
Right? Like he is not a perfect man.
Mhm.
No. Yeah.
And yeah, I love him and I love the actor. I was gonna say earlier, he's such a great actor, and he is able to project such strong, realistic emotion.
Mhm.
And
Right.
I think that is the big difference maker between Jean-Luc Picard and the other captains. Is, for example, Sisko has those exact same qualities you were talking about. He's not perfect. He has a soft interior, but can seem stern when he needs to. But it is the acting that really makes the difference between the two
Yeah,
captains.
I mean,
Well,
yeah.
what I was going to mention earlier is, God, years ago, forever ago, I had the wonderful opportunity. I got a free ticket to go see Patrick Stewart recite the Christmas Carol.
Oh, wow.
Did they do the whole Muppet song? Like it's
No.
Marley and Marley.
No,
Whoa!
the real one. You know, and he had the book in front of him, but he barely referenced it. The dude had, and he did every voice,
And
he had like different voices, different inflections, and stuff like that. And and it just like cemented it for me. It was like, you're not only one of my favorite captains, you're one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
And just one of my favorite people. Like his whole relationship with Ian McKellen.
I love it.
With Gandalf.
And oh shit, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, no. It's the bromance.
I was going to mention that if you didn't.
Eternity.
But also, there was a movie in the 90s where he played a gay character. I can't remember what the movie was called. Dogs drinking. Dogs.
Yeah,
God damn it.
Oh, Leia's stuck underneath the table.
I can't remember what that is. Maybe if I'm ever invited back again, I can investigate that.
You're coming back.
But I just, I love the character. I love how he made the character real. If you think about, and everybody kind of jokes about him on that episode where he lives that whole life with a whole family and learns to play the flute.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about that later.
And I really feel like Picard, the series, filled in all the cracks of that character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, because he was always shown to be like kind of perfect.
Yeah.
On Next Generation, right?
In the later seasons,
most
yes.
part.
You saw the cracks in the first, especially dealing with children and people he didn't know, how just rough he was. And impersonally, he never let anyone in.
Right.
Yeah,
But as far as like how the
those
crew,
are kind of on the surface
I mean, the
kind of
crew
things.
always viewed him as like the epitome, and it's Jean-Luc Picard. But in Picard, they'll do it for me because I'm
He's this
Picard, and then
old
they
man.
don't. You know,
Right. They're
Like when
fuck
he went
you.
Like when he went to
Picard.
Starfleet in San Francisco and went to the front desk, like, I'm here to see the Admiral.
Yeah, and they're like,
I am
ID?
Jean-Luc Picard. Who?
What?
Yes.
Right. So, but, you know, and it showed that he wasn't perfect, but he was still like he hated kids, but he still had
Captain Picard Day.
he had the Captain Picard Day banner.
And that showed up in Picard.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Yeah,
That killed me.
That killed me.
And the last episode, man, I fucking
Can
last episode that I just sobbed. I sobbed.
I want to take a toast for two things: OG Picard and to Data, ladies and gentlemen, to
Right.
Data.
Data and
Data.
Picard.
So, yeah. So Picard's my dude. I love Next Generation. I love Picard, but I also love Deep Space Nine so much.
Right, because as you were saying, Cisco has those same characteristics Picard has, except Picard is, traditionally French, brought up British upper class. He recites Shakespeare. He knows his plays
he's
and
got Patrick
Greek
Stewart
philosophers. He's got Patrick Stewart behind him, exactly.
That's really
Well,
But
think about the original episode, like the first episode of Deep Space Nine.
such a good episode. They
And
start
it-
you off hot.
And it introduces, it's when Picard is Locutus and Cisco is,
Cisco, and he's trying to survive Locutus attacking them.
and the Borg kills his fucking wife,
that's right. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And those episodes where he like had to confront Picard and deal with Picard, I mean, that's some good shit. I'm gonna go watch that shit again because I got CBS All
Man.
Access.
Yeah.
I just watched this episode like 2 days ago, so it's fresh in my mind. I'm ready to go.
All right, I'll shut up.
No, you're absolutely good.
I leave the mic.
But you're right. The handoff between Picard and Cisco was perfect, especially when Cisco confronts Picard, and Picard goes, "I don't believe we met before." And Cisco, in his cadence, goes, "Oh, we have at the Battle of whatever the battle was." And Picard knows exactly what it means. He doesn't say a word after that. He just goes back and sits down. Because he knows he was the cutest, and he knows what that meant, because he just wiped out thousands of Starfleet officers and their families.
Right.
So, yes, the first episode for Sisko was extraordinarily tough, because if you remember, he wanted to quit. That was his storyline in the first episode. Is that he wants to quit Starfleet, he wants to take his son and go back to Earth and live the life that his son deserves.
I'm going to go home and take Jake.
It wasn't until the wormhole opens up, and he goes through the wormhole. Oh, list build. They go through the wormhole, and those interdimensional beings, I forget what they're called, take him. And he, I guess, learns the meaning of Christmas and goes, oh, no, I want to stay. You're right. So he does stay as Captain D Space Nine. But his character, once again, is the same as Jean-Luc Picard, but in almost every regard, the exact opposite of Jean-Luc Picard. Once again,
he's filled with tragedy.
He is filled with tragedy. But also his demeanor, his background, his tragedy, and just his colloquialism is the exact opposite. Jean-Luc recites the poets, recites the Greek philosophers. Sisko fucking loves baseball. So I'm like, hell yeah, Sisko, I'm on board with this shit. So, there's always a story, the saying rather, when people go to vote for president, they vote for who they would most rather have a beer with.
Right.
So, yes, I would love having a beer with Picard and just listening. But as far as having a conversation, I want to sit down and have an actual conversation with Sisko. Because I feel I could still retain his personality, whereas Picard is so far above me, I could never really relate. But Sisko's the everyman who's leading the station.
But to listen to that, I'd rather have the beer, though I think we'd probably be drinking something else with Picard, because I think I would grow so much from just having a conversation with Picard. Even if it's about, I don't know, flowers, I would grow so much from it.
Flowers?
Yeah.
He has opinions on that, but again, just because I love Picard. Picard's my captain. Just to play that other advocate. I won't speak to Janeway. Captain Archer, I do like Captain Archer. But Captain Archer from Enterprise, he is a good guy.
I never saw any Enterprise.
It's a good show. Honestly, it's good.
I have to say, my favorite captain of all time, of course, Janeway.
The twist!
Amazing captain.
Mike!
I don't even know what to say.
Captain Mike!
I thought you were going to say Lincoln. Oh, Captain, my captain.
Yeah.
Thanks, Walt.
Why do we always say, "Oh, Captain, my captain"? It was after.
That's
Lincoln
Walt Whitman,
was dead.
motherfuckers. Walt
Picard's
Whitman.
not dead. Well, Picard's dead. He's
Picard is
I'm gonna go grab a shirt.
So we're gonna get the shirt. Ready for the shirt, folks?
Okay, here's the shirt.
And
Here we go.
Dun,
Dun, dun,
dun,
dun, dun.
Team
dun, dun,
Picard!
dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
Yes.
I bought that in Atlanta like 14 years ago.
Worth it, yeah. Picard is definitely my favorite captain.
Okay,
That's
so
who I
yes.
keep up with. Yeah.
I wanted to play devil's advocate for Sisko. I love Sisko since I watched more of him recently, but it's Picard at the end of the day. We didn't even mention Kirk. We didn't even bring up Kirk.
Oh, Kirk.
Well, Kirk is a legend in his own right.
Right.
He's
We
a
would not
legend.
have Picard
Without Kirk, yeah.
No, you're right.
without Kirk, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, Kirk is like the John Wayne.
He's the bad boy rebel.
That's exactly
Yeah,
what he is.
Captain,
He's
he's
the
a
John Wayne.
Picard.
the John Wayne of the Federation, but
Mhm.
Kirk,
Right.
he's a complete
You mean
complete
Picard?
person. I mean, Picard's a complete person, intellectually, and he'll fucking kick your ass if he needs to.
How
He's a good leader.
Yeah.
So how many people could be put on trial to judge humanity and come out the way Picard did? Like, that's incredible how that worked out.
Yes, but the trial continues, Brandon.
We failed that
continues.
trial 4 years ago.
We're failing it now.
What
Yes, we are.
I so badly want Q in the second season because Guinan's gonna be back. Whoopi Goldberg has confirmed to be back.
No.
So Guinan's in.
It wouldn't make sense for Q to.
I don't think Q fits into
No.
As much as I want to see
the
him.
current version of Star Trek. Can I ask you guys a question?
Mm-hmm.
No, you cannot ask. I'm just kidding. Yes, ask
We are the podcast.
Oh, I'm gonna fucking do it
How
anyway.
dare you?
So lots of people, like old schoolies, are pissed that they swear on Star Trek now.
Well,
They say fuck.
because you couldn't before.
Also,
Yeah,
Hey,
but-
okay, my God, you guys are my people, right?
Yes, Brandon.
May I? Yes, thank you. So the Enterprise and Starfleets, they have militaristic DNA. You go talk to people in the Air Force, people in the Navy. There's a reason why you curse like a goddamn sailor. So these people on these ships in space, they're gonna be cursing like a sailor.
So we've been using these words for hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
And
real life.
why? Yeah, it's just real life. And why? And it's like, well, they didn't ever do it before.
1990s FCC didn't allow them to swear.
Or
yes, that's true.
1960s.
Or 1960s.
1960s, they weren't even allowed to be shown sleeping in the same bed.
Yeah.
I love
Right?
Lucy.
So
Historical
it's just
context.
right, and it's just like, well, now you could say fuck, especially like on Picard, when you've got this ragtag crew. You got that captain that always got a cigar in his mouth
Well,
and
then
shit.
the admiral who's like,
fucking
"Fuck
cool.
you, Picard."
Yes.
Right, exactly.
How fucking dare she?
Like the fucking, what did she say? The fucking audacity or hubris. The fucking
The
hubris.
fucking
Which
hubris,
is
Picard.
right at the same time. She got it right. But, okay, I'm going to quickly talk about Picard for a second. How fucking
talk about Picard
badass
now.
was it when Riker came in with a goddamn Starfleet behind him?
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yes.
Okay, anyway.
And,
Yes.
and also he like combed his hair.
Let's do favorite
God damn it.
episodes.
Last.
Shannon, I think Brandon and I might have the same favorite episode. But Shannon, what's your favorite episode? It doesn't matter what flavor of Star Trek.
Jeez, that's so hard.
Do you need to think about it? We can go with Liz.
No, it's just like, honestly, I've got favorite episodes, and it is any of the two-parters dealing with Klingon like inner workings.
So, like,
It's
when
yeah,
Alexander
yeah.
comes back to the DS.
Yeah,
I
and
know how
like-
much you love Alexander.
And like when they all turn their backs on Worf.
Oh God, that is such. That is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's a powerful fucking
And,
moment
and,
right
and,
there.
and he does it to preserve the Empire.
Yes.
Even though it's like something he doesn't want to do. His brother is like, and his brother's like, don't do this. He's like, I must do this to preserve the Empire.
Yeah.
You see, I didn't do like the really big Klingon voice because that was Worf.
Yeah. All right. Liz?
My just the episode that instantly comes to my mind when someone says favorite episode is, and I think this is just because of my childhood and it's stuck in my brain for some reason, was that episode on Next Generation where they de-evolve into their primordial
That's a
form.
great episode.
That was a cool
love
moment.
that episode. It's like it stuck with me for so long.
It's one of my favorites. It's definitely one of my favorites.
I don't know why, but I just love that episode. But I gotta say, every episode of Picard has been fantastic and has made me emotional.
Well, I know, right? I mean,
I'm wanting to cry.
Can we give a shout out to another great de facto Star Trek captain?
Pike?
Nope. Ed Mercer. Ed Mercer from
Yes, the Yes.
From the Orville.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you guys. The Orville is some of the best
It's amazing.
next generation episodes
Yes.
ever.
It's
But
so
it did not
great.
start that way. It started as a spoof.
No.
To me,
I disagree. I don't think the Orville was ever a spoof. I think it was a straight up tribute to Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I
with
really
jokes.
hope so.
I think it was. I think that they maybe wanted you to think it was a spoof to get you kind of into it, to get you to tune in, and then you see it's really a hilarious homage to Next Generation.
Oh God,
Well,
it is
and
one
you
of my
know
favorite
it's
shows.
It's coming back to Hulu.
Oh, yes.
It's coming to Hulu, and there's going to be swearsies in it. But, like, they did shit on that show. Like, talking about parables to current events, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They went hard and heavy, man.
Yeah,
they went hard and heavy with the parables.
That's
you know,
typical
like,
Star Trek, though, is it is a,
well,
Yeah.
but
looking
I
at
think,
real society.
but they went fucking balls out.
Yeah.
Basically, like, castration. There's
Well,
the episode.
Well, and I think
those-
there's room in society now to be able to do that, so Seth MacFarlane can.
right, but like that one episode with the two same-sex couples that are
Yep.
from that.
The head of
race
security
of-
and his
Yeah.
partner.
Yeah.
And there's that whole thing of
With
they didn't
their-
want
with
their
their
kid
daughter.
to be female.
Or-
Or
Yeah.
no, it was going to be male, and they needed to be female.
so we have to castrate this thing, and everybody's like, no, and that was like a really challenging thing.
Mhm.
And like the episode where the one guy gets addicted to hologram porn.
Yes.
I couldn't believe that shit was on TV. I was like, oh, Jesus. Like I loved it, but I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
fucking grandma turned that on. It was like, ow, why is that bumpy headed guy fucking 7 other dudes? With bumpy head. And
The bumpy head
and I'm
guy.
sorry. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Seth MacFarlane loves
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a big
He
Star Trek
loves-
fan.
he loves Star Trek, and he pitched the Orville as a Star Trek show to Paramount, and they said no.
Oh, it went to Paramount? I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
he went to Paramount. And he's like, I would like to do a show, and it's going to be a little funny and a little raunchy, but we will follow all your rules. And they told him to fuck off.
Oh.
So he just went, well, okay, I'll just go make it.
Yeah.
I'll just go make it some other place.
He went, all right, well, fuck
And
you
he went
then.
to Fox,
Like-
and then now he's
And-
going to Hulu. I cannot wait until the next season comes out. On
I
Hulu.
can't.
I love Orville. Love it, love it, love it.
I think most of us that watch Star Trek, and it's a horrible thing to say, is that Star Trek got better when Gene Roddenberry died. When the great bird of the universe passed away, it got better.
Can I offend lots of people right now, like millions and billions of people?
Yeah, that's what we do.
Or like 5 people.
So Christianity got better when Jesus died.
Right.
More people began following it to offend everybody on planet Earth.
Well, more people buy someone's art after they die, so there's a
Exactly. Van Gogh got
posthumous,
famous
fame.
afterwards, so let's do that instead of when Jesus died. You're exactly right.
I'm just gonna say, as a person that's that's just been a oh my God, I have such a hard time talking. Hold on, let me gather my
Welcome to
thoughts.
Cosmos with Cosmos.
As a
We have
first,
broken Shannon.
Resistance is futile.
I've enjoyed the fuck out of this.
Good. We're glad.
I've really enjoyed the fuck out of this.
Well,
But-
we really appreciate you having you, Shannon, because you've been phenomenal.
Well, no,
This is really fun.
It's
has
been nice,
gold.
and oh my god, I'm so drunk
Yes.
on a
Yes.
Sunday
Sunday
at
afternoon.
3:26
On
p.m.
God's day of all
We
days.
have broken Shannon. Yeah, he
Well,
came
you
on
got-
here to break us. We
The
broke
Cosmos got him.
There are
Oh.
4 lights, Shannon. There are 4 lights.
There are all 3 lights.
him.
We didn't get them yet, guys. We didn't get them.
Well,
Good.
thanks, Shannon, for joining us. Everybody, check out Geek Show Podcast.
Yes, definitely check it out.
And you can get more of him every week.
Yes,
All the time.
you weak Terran bitches. Listen to the Geek Show Podcast. Bitches.
All right,
Bye,
with that,
Shannon. Yes. Signing off. Captain's log. Signing
all
off.
good things must come to an end.
There you
Oh,
go.
nicely done.
Nice.
Cheers,
nice.
everybody.